We'll open up the meeting here. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Counselor Peckham?
Here.
Counselor Pereira?
Here.
Counselor Campbell?
Here. Open meeting law. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmission are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. Okay. First item, we have citizens' input. Has anyone signed up for citizens' input? Okay. Move on to item 2, the minutes, which are in your packet. I'm sure everyone reviewed those. If we'd have a motion, if it's appropriate.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
So voted. Number 3, the third and last item is an order for 67 Stephen Street, LLC, 31 Nelson Way, Mansfield, Mass., to restore 48,000 gallons of underground gas at 64 Stephen Street. Now, just to begin, what got us, why we're here, this item was before the planning board prior, and a special permit was granted. And the issues involving traffic and a lot of the other items that were discussed by some of the abutters were addressed at that meeting. So we are here today, strictly to deal with the gas tanks, the underground tanks, whether we're going to approve those or not. All the other issues have been discussed, and after a special permit is granted, there is a 20-day right to appeal. Okay, so I'd like to call down at this point our city planner.
The chief.
Fire chief, please. So this committee really wants to, again, just focus on the storage tanks and go over any safety issues, if any, that may be on the table here.
I did want to clarify that the planning process that we actually went through was Conservation Commission, which was a public hearing, and then it is a permitted as of right use, so it was not a special permit.
Okay.
It was site plan review.
I thought you mentioned special permit at the last meeting.
No, it did not require a special permit. It's strictly site plan review. So it's Conservation Commission and site plan review, which they have gone through.
Okay. And what conditions were placed on the application?
Well, the Conservation Commissions were that silt fence needs to be in place prior to, during, and after construction, and then they have to get an order that everything was complete. There was also a condition for the cleaning up of the retention area and the area adjacent to the wetlands where a lot of trash had gotten up, so that was that. The site plan review conditions, a lot of them are standard, but one of them was prior to issuance of a building permit, they need to seek a waiver from council for curb cuts because they don't have a curb cut on Brayton Avenue, so they'll need the curb cut waiver. And then one of the other conditions is once the Cumberland Farms is operational, the applicant shall coordinate with the city signal division and conduct a traffic analysis to determine if there's any changes required to the signal timing. And then there was prior addition to the building permit, they need to revise the grocery truck circulation plan that was provided with us, and they've worked with the city engineer on the circulation plan. And then that we, also required a revision to put in a handicap crossing at Stevens Street and at Baird Street to go cross at their last entrance a protected striped crosswalk at Stevens and Baird at their back entrance. And then the rest of them are that they pay their I&I, their infiltration fees, which is the stormwater fees, and then there's the standard conditions that they have to maintain their stormwater facility, that they can't negatively impact stormwater runoff. Any conditions regarding conservation are made part of site plan review. They need to get a right-of-way permit, and then prior to final endorsement, an as-built plan. So a lot of these are kind of standard conditions that we have almost on every site plan. So, but there were some specific ones regarding crosswalk, signal timing, and those sorts of things.
Conditioned upon the final approval.
It was the final site plan approval. Some of them are prior to issuance of building permit. There's just a handful of revisions, adding the sidewalk, those sorts of things. One of the conditions, the longer-term conditions, is condition number 2. Once it's operational, their traffic consultant and our signal division need to work together on if the signal timing has to be changed. But that's, if they pull the box out and I don't even, they mess with the switches on the signal timing. But once that's operational, they felt that the signal is more than capable to handle any of the extra traffic, but it's really the timing is, how much timing for a left turn, for a straight, for going right. So that's what they'll look at and evaluate that once it's fully operational.
Council Burke?
And that's for the lights that are already there?
Correct.
Just to change the timing of them?
Correct.
Not to add new lights?
Yeah.
There are some issues that I have concerns over because I have received calls from some of the neighbors and there's some concerns, but the concerns have to do with what you're doing on your end, not so much as what we are able to do here. The only thing we are able to do here tonight is to vote to allow the tanks.
Correct.
But I will tell you that some of the concerns that I've gotten from people was the opening on Stevens Street in Baird, that they're afraid that, there's gonna be a lot of traffic, and that the hours of operation, that it not be something that's 24 hours, or wasn't there
The car wash.
the car wash, 24 hours? Because and I will tell you that we did have a problem with a car wash. Was it on Globe Street? I think it was on Globe or Slate, the car wash that's there, that people would go there after clubbing, somebody gets sick in a car and they're gonna go and wash a car, and everybody's loud and yelling, whatever. And there was an issue that if that could be curtailed, that there be a time limit on the car wash, that may help the neighbors. And also, along the back of that, would they be trees or something planted there? And I believe that there was some trees there.
Let me answer, well, the one question is 7.
I looked at that today when I was upstairs, and we talked about the cuts on near Baird Street to have the opening there, but on that one, it was because of the grocery trucks coming in, that they needed to be able to,
Yeah, the further, there's 2 entrances
Right.
on.
on Brayton Avenue, and one on,
Yeah, an in and out on Brighton Avenue, an in and out, and then on 2 entrances that are on Stevens. The first would be coming in and probably going the folks. The second entrance is more for the delivery and the car
Right.
wash, and their delivery plan basis, and that's kind of based on that. From a safety standpoint, if people come out, every entrance you have that's further away from the intersection is obviously safer. Regarding to address the hours of operation, I can understand and sympathize with their issue, but it's a permitted as of right use, and Fall River zoning ordinance nowhere stipulates hours of operation.
No, but we've always put conditions on them, even though
Yeah.
there's not, when somebody comes in
Right.
and they wanna do something, but, you know, they're doing it in a neighborhood setting or whatever, people have always compromised.
Right.
So that, you know, they're good neighbors to the neighbors, and the neighbors are good neighbors to the business. So they've kind of been able to compromise on that. And I would just throw that out. I mean, the site plan review, to be honest with you, I was a big proponent of site plan review. I personally, my opinion, I don't like the way site plan review is done. A plan comes in, it gets emailed to all the departments, you look at it when you can, she looks at it when she can, where I think everybody should be together. And people said, well, you know, we don't have the manpower to do that. You have the manpower for department heads to meet with the mayor once a month, twice a month. You got the manpower to meet once or twice a month to do the site plan reviews and to notify abutters. Over here, by law, you have to notify one to the front, to the back, whatever, and one other one. But it was a bank on one side. You know what I mean? It's
Well,
not
and I
the people
understand
that
that,
live
and,
there.
and we only notified the abutters for
Right.
the conservation. The site plan review ordinance, does not,
We're gonna change that.
um,
We need to have some,
well,
little bit more
we
teeth
can
in
have
it.
a much longer conversation, and I can, and I can actually probably, you know, will illustrate and tell you if you wish to do that, there's an impact, but we don't have to have that conversation
no,
today.
we don't have to, but
Um,
it's just that if neighbors were aware of what was going on, I think a lot of
Yeah.
what the concerns are could have been addressed, because some of the concerns I heard from neighbors, when I met with you, they're really not concerned. Somebody thought that the gas tanks the underground tanks were gonna go in the back of the building near houses, and it's not. It's
No,
in
they're
the
right
front.
up front on the corner.
And like Counselor Kilby said, the only thing that Counselor Peckham and I and Counselor Kilby can vote on is, do we allow these gas tanks? That's the only thing. So to that, I would yield to the chief and say, we have gas tanks all around the city. Do you see a problem with them? What are your thoughts? You know this area, would you agree and approve?
I would
these tanks?
approve this. We've already signed off on this. We've reviewed everything. They're up to all their codes. They have all the safety features on these tanks, and they're very safe tanks. They're not like the tanks in the old days, the steel tanks, that you worry about corroding in the ground. These tanks are very, very safe, designed that way. They have several safety factors in them, monitoring. I mean, it's not like the old days at all, so yes, we're very comfortable with these tanks.
And the company, Cumberland Farms, my understanding, is very good with projects.
Yes.
You know, how many we have in this, do we have any others in the city?
Cumberland Farms?
Yeah.
There's one
Yeah.
up,
North Main Street.
North Main Street, there's one on Stafford Road. I'm not sure if
Get
there's
a
any
smart
others.
card, 10 cents cheaper a gallon of gas. Just saying.
How about moving forward, sorry to interrupt you, moving forward, there's obviously a series of inspections by your department.
Yes,
leading up to
absolutely.
their,
This is just the first step. We've already approved this. Now, it's in your hands. If you approve the tanks, then they'll move forward. If they move forward, then they'll give us other plans, and obviously, you're gonna have to have some type of fire suppression system in there, so we'll review that. When they put the tanks in, our inspectors go by on a regular basis, make sure everything's being done right, so.
Well, speaking for myself, I always go by the expert in the field, and that's you, chief, so if you just stated you really don't have any concerns at this point.
None at all at this point.
So I trust your judgment. Anything else? Any other comment? Chris?
I just want, the citizens that came to the city council meeting, the last one, their concerns didn't fall on deaf ears, because I had some concerns. But again, we're not here to address those concerns. The only thing we are here to address is the fuel tanks. I did have questions about the car wash operation and delivery of fuel in time, but that's not something that I'm able to address. And I agree with you that you're the professional chief, and take your word.
Thank you.
Well said, Counselor. Okay, so we have any motions, or?
Yeah, I mean, we have a motion to approve. I would just out of courtesy for some of the neighbors, do you think that if we talk to the people from Cumberland Farms, they would be willing to do some limited hours with the car wash, like,
Well, prior to
11
you,
o'clock?
I would recommend, prior to you voting, the applicant is here, and I would see what they would have to say.
I mean,
on
our
that.
vote is on the tanks,
Yeah.
and I would
Right.
make a motion that we
Yeah.
approve that. We have the chief saying that they're
Yeah.
safe, we can't not allow them. But I know that we don't have purview over other things, but I know that neighbors did express concern over that. And if there's some way, like I said, you know, compromise, be good neighbors to neighbors, if they're willing to just curtail the hours, I mean,
You know, what, I would bring them down and ask them.
Well, we're not gonna do
We
that.
don't-
Like
we don't
as Linda
have to
said,
do
we
that,
just-
but-
I would just urge the company publicly
that.
to reach out to the neighbors, and you're here, and I think you articulated this at the full city council meeting that you're gonna do that. So, gentleman's agreement, it's on record, the public's watching this. Like, as Linda said, Council Pereira, you wanna be good neighbors. I would reach out to
mean,
those
that's it.
people and see if you can address their needs, but that's all we can do here.
but I'd make a motion to adopt approval.
Motion to adopt,
Second.
approve, second, all in favor? Sorry.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted.
Thank you.
Motion to
Thank you.
adjourn? Thank you.
And thanks for explaining everything today.
My pleasure.
Very nice.
Motion
Thank
to
you.
adjourn made by Councilor Peckham.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so voted.